Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on DisneyPlus.com. It's time for the weekly Q&A. So big hello and welcome to everyone joining either live or on the replay. So big hello and thank you to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members. You guys really make a massive difference to the website and the podcast and the YouTube channel because your support means we can continue doing this. With so many changes that's been happening over the last couple of years with Google, I can't say how much it means to me. So again, big thank you. So Patreon and YouTube channel members have been able to submit questions in advance. Also, they can also join in. YouTube channel members can also join in live. Also, anyone can also use the super chat function, and you can send questions in that way. And again, all of that just helps support the channel. So big thank you to everyone that does so. Usually what I tend to do is jump between the pre-done questions and the live chat, jumping in and about. We usually go around about an hour, sometimes a little bit more, depending on how many questions we've got. Also, just a quick note, if you can hear a little fan or a little bit of noise, I do apologize. It is very, very hot here in the UK, and we don't have any air conditioning. So I've had the fan going for the last few hours, with the window open and the shades drawn to try and get it as cool as possible. But yeah, if I turn this fan off, this Q&A is going to be about 20 minutes before it gets just like an oven in here. So yeah, hopefully you can't hear it. So nevertheless, let's jump into it. So we've got lots and lots of questions, lots of different topics to discuss. So let's start off with Kayla's one that says, according to multiple reports, Disney and ITV have made an agreement where both sides would share media. Could you see Disney striking similar deals with other niche streamers? So I will say this from the word go of the idea here in the UK, ITVX is not a niche streamer. It is one of the biggest streamers. It is huge. ITV Channel 3 is one of the core traditional linear channels. It is, BBC is the main one that we know, but ITV was always the alternative. It was the one with ads. It has been around for, I don't know, 70, 80, 90 years. It is extreme. This is kind of like equivalent in the US of a CBS or a ABC or, I don't know, an NBC. These are big channels here in the UK. They are the most watched shows are on the network. It is a huge network. So I don't want to underestimate the fact of calling it a niche streamer, maybe globally, because it's only available here in the UK, but it is a huge streaming service here in the UK. It's essentially a fast service. You can pay to have it upgraded, but it is huge. And that is why this deal with Disney for ITVX is really important, because it gets Disney Plus content in front of a much larger audience. It's essentially, a big way of doing an advert for Disney Plus, because they're not getting all the new shows. They're only getting a select limited amount of content. And to be honest, it's not really any different than they've been doing for the past year or so, because most of the British original, there's been a lot of shows that have been aired on ITVX anyway, like a year or two after they've come out. Culprits, Renegade Nell, the Under the Banner of Heaven, I think was it Murder at the End of the World. There's been quite a few different originals that have been available on ITVX. So it's nothing particularly new. What I think this is interesting for is this is a way that Disney is starting to realize that there is still some power in the traditional local networks, and they're still hunting for content. They still need content. They still need to license content. They've still got a big audience, and Disney seems to have recognized, and they're doing deal, and some of the other streamers as well have realized that there is still money to be made from these international streamers and linear networks, and they're going to continue to license to them. They get additional revenue. Now, whether or not Disney makes any money out of this ITV deal, it also does give them a boost in UK content, which will help with gaining UK subscribers. But more importantly, I think it's a way of kind of upping up for the quota. But the main benefit really is that Disney Plus gets to have a big advert right on ITVX, and people get to enjoy like the first season of The Bear. I mean, they're not getting all 4 seasons. They're only getting the first season to try and get people hooked in. Some people that are going to be watching it aren't going to jump over. And bar Disney Plus doing a fast network, a free tier, this is probably the best way of doing it. As far as doing other deals like this, I think it's very likely that we're going to see them doing deals in other countries, especially where they don't have those linear channels that they can do deals with. It is a very interesting one to go. Matt says this is a way that they can pick up more movies and shows some streaming services to get new content and variety on Disney Plus. That is one of the big key things I do think is good with all this licensing that's going on. It does freshen up the app a little bit, because I don't know about you, but when you fire up Disney Plus, you're wanting maybe to watch something, or you want a new movie, or you want something to watch, and you want sometimes something a little different. Sometimes you maybe don't always want to watch the same movies. So I think, like, for example, like having the Transformer movies go on there, or the Mission Impossible movies, or things like that, like have recently gone on internationally, are a nice little refresh. They kind of give you something to go, oh, I haven't seen that for a while, I'll give that a go. And I think it's good. I think we are seeing Disney moving into that stage that Disney Plus doesn't have to be just Disney content. And I think you're also seeing Warner Brothers and Paramount and Sony, etc., are much more likely wanting to license out as well to make money. A lot of them are non-exclusive as well. I think if it's just a win-win-win, I think the concept that Disney Plus is just Disney content, those days are long gone. And I think it is very much about giving extra variety. Is Matt saying we could get more general content on Disney Plus? Well, internationally, general content is there for us. We've had general content on Disney Plus internationally for 4 years. All the stuff in the US that's on Hulu is pretty much on Disney Plus, and we're starting to get those licensing deals coming through now. So I think they realize there's a lot of benefits in licensing content, and it's cheaper probably than making their own content, pulls in viewers, and it just gives audiences more alternatives. Let's see here if there's other questions related to this. Matt says, I think Disney should get other studios that could help them with get new stuff on Disney Plus on a regular basis. Yeah, definitely agree with that. More's good. Kelly says, I'd like to see Disney Plus strike deals with other platforms. Paramount Plus makes sense in the short term, since the number of shows are shared between Hulu and Paramount Plus. I wonder whether or not Paramount Plus is going to get swept up by another big player, or if they're going to sell their assets off, or if they're just going to go down the Sony route and start licensing out to whoever pays the most. I just don't see. I think we're going to get to a point where consumers are only going to be willing to subscribe to so many subscriptions. And it's not just streaming services. You've also got music, video games, gym memberships, whatever it is. There's only so many subscriptions people are going to have. And I think we've reached that peak. And Disney want to be one of the 3 or 4 that people have. And I'm just not sure if people are going to have 5, 6 streaming platforms. And maybe Paramount, and I think Paramount is definitely the one I could see going. I definitely think Stars will be the one that will go at some point. I'm just going to keep on the topic of these just for the sake of this for a minute. Okay, I think all of them aren't necessarily connected to that one. Okay. Matt also said, I also think we could get 1 or 2 classic contents a week or a month to help fill up Disney Plus. I mean, yeah, I've said this multiple times. I said it last week. I would, if I was Disney, I'd just be like, let's put a team together. Let's go through the archive, and we just start putting stuff out every single week from all of their art, from 20th century, whatever it is. And if you got a movie, you put it out on digital first, maybe do it that way, try and claw some money back. But for me, it just seems like a huge waste to keep going out licensing content, creating new content when you've got stuff sat on the shelf that you could use. It kind of boggles the mind, really. It's a bit like that kind of thing of like, I'm going out and buying some new stuff, even though I've probably got some in the garage. Let's carry on with some other questions. Babak says, when do you think ESPN will ramp up when do you think Disney will ramp up ESPN promotions? Well, again, if ESPN flagship isn't launching until the end of August, beginning of September, no point in doing an advertising campaign until the week it's out, or even the week or 2. And you do the promotions the couple of weeks after it comes out. I know definitely, and I've said about this a lot of times, of we that are in the know and that follow all the news and stuff, we are the rarity. Most people don't know about this stuff and don't really care. and they'll only see it when it starts coming up. So like with like ESPN promotions for the new flagship, there is no point in spending money right now promoting something that's coming out in the future. You promote it when it's out, or when it just, people's attention spans are short, and there's, at the end of the day, they're better off just doing it when you can literally say you can download ESPN flagship now. That's going to have a much bigger impact. Keenan says, so if you said linear is dying, why is there such things as YouTube TV, Hulu Plus Live T, and Sling? So the way to look at those platforms is those are the crutches for leaving linear television. So you've got people that have had cable for a while, and they are contemplating dropping cable, but they still think they need live television, and maybe like, well, I don't really want to just go to streaming. I still want my sports. I still want my local news or my news, etc. And so going to these platforms was like a crutch to kind of step off of cable onto this like streaming version of cable. But what's happening is those people are now jumping off in big numbers, because some of them have only got like 1 million, 2 million subscribers, and the number of subscribers, YouTube seems to be able to keep kind of, I think, basically pinching everybody else's, which kind of makes sense, because I think that it's a good platform and people are using YouTube more. I use the YouTube app on my TV so much, but that market is shrinking because the people that are leaving linear on cable are going to these like cable light packages, and then they jump off to streaming or aerial and streaming kind of thing, and that market is getting small. So linear is dying. They're all trying to get rid of their channels. They're all trying to offset stuff because people aren't watching in big enough numbers. And as I said, those things like Sling and YouTube TV, they are going to be around for a few years. And I think that's why with Fubo and Hulu Live TV merging, it makes them a bigger thing. But they are just losing subscribers month after month, because people are just like, don't need it anymore. And I think when ESPN flagship launches, there's going to be even less need for people to have these big expensive cable bundles. I got a question here from Aaliyah, who says, it appears that Disney didn't overreact when they cancelled the live action version of Tangled. Nelson's performance of Snow White wasn't very good. It wasn't very good at all. Therefore, should the live action Moana also be cancelled, or should it be okay? I think Moana live action is fine. I don't think that's going to be going anywhere. I think that'll be they've already started filming. They're already doing it. Lilo and Stitch might give them a little bit more interest in doing something, but it does feel like, we've got with Moana and then live action like Lilo and Stitch. I think Tangled might be just put on the back burner. They probably are still going to work on stuff, but they may be just going to do the Marvel Star Wars thing of start having them more spread out rather than multiple ones. Elliot says, when do you think Disney Plus subscribers on the ad-supported tier will start seeing more curated playlists? Do you think Disney Plus is testing this future before releasing it to everyone? Yeah, it feels like it's very much in that test zone of where they're doing it. Maybe there's a rule that they can't offer them so much to add because of some of the deals, but I don't know. It does seem a little bit odd why it's still... I don't understand why it never went out to everybody and they didn't have to have ads on those channels, because that would have made more sense to me of just making it an ad product, and people that didn't have ads, that was the way I would have done it. Let's jump into the live chat. Let's see what we can see. Kelly says, if the live action Moana underperforms, I know The Rock will have another midlife crisis the same way he did after Black Adam underperformed. I think Moana's probably got a much better chance. I think the thing is with Black Adam is I think he put so much time and effort into that he thought he was going to do better. I mean, I thought it was okay, but I did see a trailer yesterday for that new UFC one, and I think that's probably going to be a good thing for The Rock. But I think he's just overexposed himself a bit in doing too many projects too close to each other, many of which are the similar kind of roles, and I think that's where the kind of this feedback come to. And I also think just DC was just a mess at the time. Baba Trolling says, do you think ESPN's streaming service will be available for the first day of college football? Yeah. Okay, so I'm one of the people who got the Hulu Live TV bundle with Disney Plus, ESPN Plus. Some people need to slow wean off, be patient. At some point, I'll be an on-demand subscriber only. Yeah, so you are, that is exactly exempt, as I said, like a crutch where you've kind of sidestepped onto it. The question is, what is likely to make you jump off? Is it the sports element? Is that going to have the thing of, when ESPN, you're like, well, I don't need, I could just save some money. Is it the news? Because I can watch, you can watch most news networks, etc. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what would make you jump off. Big thank you, Matt, for your super chat. Thank you so much for your support. That is awesome. Can't appreciate that enough. Do you think Disney will have more life programs besides sports? Have more life programs besides sports? So obviously National Geographic is delivering a lot of content for Disney Plus and like ESPN and stuff. So that's like nature documentaries. So I definitely think we are going to see more of that kind of content, more reality. Also, ABC News Studios are a little workhorse there. They are churning out documentary after documentary for Hulu and Disney Plus at the minute. That studio seems to be hitting it, and it's obviously very cheap TV to make. They're also leaning in on lots of different types of. They're very much aware that they need variety, and so I definitely think we are going to see more kind of like life. When you say live programming, whether or not that's like reality TV, you're just going to see more variety for sure. So again, thank you so much for that support. I'm just going to jump to the top, just see if we've got anything up here. Miles asks, if Jim Morrison does decide to step down as Pixar's president by the end of the year, could the position go to long-time veterans like Andy Swanton or Jonas Riviera? Alternatively, could the role of the president go to external candidates like Kirsty from Sony or Marjorie from DreamWorks Animation? I'd guess it would be internal. I can't see them bringing in someone from outside to run Pixar. I think they'll be wanting to groom someone from within. So I think that's more likely. I do think that Pixar is going to need they are going to need to have some kind of new direction, a new path. They are making changes. We are seeing stuff changing place. Unfortunately, some films like Elio were just too late, too little, too late. They tried salvaging it, but it was kind of, you can only revive a dead fish so much, and that's kind of, I think, the problem with that one. Kelly said also there's a number of Miramax films that were made by Disney, so I'd like to see Miramax films being produced on both servers. I think it depends who's got the rights to that. Keenan says there are rumors of Johnny Depp returning to Pirates of the Caribbean 6, but only as a supporting role. I mean, I would say at the minute with all that kind of stuff, you could anybody could sit here right now and say, Disney are making a Pirates of the Caribbean 6. It's not really much of a, it's a pretty easy yes, isn't it? It's a bit like saying Paramount might make another Transformers movie or Marvel might make another Marvel movie. Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp, I think they know that has to have him in it because they're very much, but also, I don't know, maybe it's just time to let that franchise go for a bit, but Disney don't seem to like doing that. Keenan says some HBO channels are shutting down, and recently the app has backed HBO Max. Could HBO Max create its own channels? They could do more of those like curated playlist things. I think there was a little bit of confusion because they're closing down HBO Family. Again, there was just too many platforms, too many streaming things, and HBO needs to like consolidate all of its brands, etc. But again, linear channels are dying, and these curated playlists, they're just cheap alternatives to it. The reason why it's cheap is because most people are not going to watch them. These fast, it's just not convenient. You might want to put it on the background, but they're never going to get back to what it was. Keenan says, I heard there was a night in the museum reboots in the work. Do you think Disney should keep remaking 20th century films? I mean, Night at the Museum, they probably could do. I mean, I did write about it the other day that they are doing it, but I don't know. I'm getting a little bit like, come on, Disney, like, stop it. Just pack it in, would you? It's like, just, there's one thing doing remakes and stuff, but just they're overdoing it. It's kind of funny. I was walking out of the cinema yesterday, and there was this couple. They were walking past, and there was the poster for Naked Gun, and he walked by, and this guy just kind of said to his partner, like, "Why do they keep remaking everything?" And that is exactly a prime example of the general public, just this random bloke walking along talking to his wife, looking at the Naked Gun and going, why are they doing, instead of having something different or something new, just keep going back and just churning out. And it's why, as I reported earlier in the week, why people are turning to anime, because they want something different. They want some different kind of stories. They don't want just the same recycled stuff coming out. Unfortunately, recycled stuff people will watch because it's easy. He says, remember when I said in another Q&A that Nizang 2 is the highest grossing film? Well, the English dub will be released in cinemas. Yes. I mean, at the minute, it's currently sitting at $1.89 billion. It's doing very well. So I'm sure there'll be a little bit of interest in it. Whether or not we can trust those numbers, who knows? But Lilo and Stitch is the number 2 movie, just shy, $20 million shy of $1 billion. So I suspect they'll keep that in cinemas a little bit longer to try and get that over the $1 billion mark. And then, yeah, it's amazing, really, the box offices of this year. Just like we're into July, and yeah, we've not actually had one US $1 billion movie yet. That is worrying. And like the top 10, I mean, you've got, F1 is at like 300 million. I mean, the fact that Captain America and Thunderbolts are still the 6th and 7th most popular films of the year in terms of box office, and technically they just didn't do very well at all. Keenan also says, heard there's rumors of a National Treasure 3. They've been talking about this for so long. I'll believe it when it actually kind of moves along a little bit. Let's see. Oh, I was just going off what it said here on Box Office Mojo. Has got the worldwide box office for that movie at 1,899,781,232. So that was what I was going off of. Barbatronic says, should Disney cancel Ice Age 6? Nah, I think go for it. Why not? I mean, that's a popular franchise. There's already been 5 of them or 6 of them or whatever it is, so go for it. I don't see the problem. I call it channels because they go on 24/7 like a TV guide. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that go. Bobatron says, what do you think was the most impactful acquisition for Disney? In my opinion, it was ABC. Yeah, I mean, ABC, the biggest one probably was actually ESPN, because that really saved the company for decades, because they were getting so much money from content coming in that a lot of people didn't realize that ESPN was that was the workhorse. That was the one that was getting everyone, bringing all that cable money in decade after decade. So ESPN was probably one of their best acquisitions. Kelly says, the acquisition of ABC was a game changer since it got Disney to be a broadcasting industry and getting ESPN as a bonus. Yeah. Matt says, what programs do you think Disney needs to do more of? I do think we're at a weird stage where it's like we could do with having a little bit more fantasy, I think. It would be nice to have more than just Percy Jackson. It does feel like the Disney Plus side of Disney Plus is kind of lacking in terms of originals. They've kind of gone too far the other way. So I think that would be cool. Another thing which seems to me like they, just like from my point of view, of the whole thing of like a Saturday morning cartoon or shows that aim for teenagers, etc. I know anime's kind of taken that market, but it doesn't feel like at the minute, like we should really kind of have, like a decent Marvel show or a decent, like, I don't know. It just feels like that whole market is just, they just don't seem to know how to make kids shows. I mean, maybe as well, kids just aren't buying toys in the same way. So maybe that's why it's not working. Like the days of like Transform, I grew up in the 80s where I grew up with Thundercats, Mask, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Jason the Wheel Warriors. What else was there? There was completely forgotten, Lone Star. We had all these different shows, and they just don't seem to make any of that anymore. And the stuff that's being churned out by the Disney Channel, I just don't think they understand kids at the moment. I think the Disney Junior side seems to get it perfectly, but the Disney Channel side, I think that whoever's making these shows are still making them for TV kids, for kids in the 90s, and I don't think they realize that the kids of today are just not interested in this stuff. Let's see what else we've got. Mara says, could Disney launch the main marketing blitz for Pixar's Hopper during the Super Bowl? It would encourage audiences to buy the advance for. Yeah, bingo. I would do that. The movie comes out in March. The Super Bowl was in February. That is the time to launch a big advertising campaign to get families to go see it. And you put it in front of the Super Bowl to get the mainstream audience that isn't aware of it. That's where you spend the money. That's where you drop the big trailer, is then. Let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, so don't see any ESPN consumer until the football starts. That's when they'll get most eyeballs. Yeah, I mean that's the kind of the big thing, really. Babatronic says, do you think Disney will make a deal with Tubi with a friendship with Foxy? They might do, but in some way, I mean, I'm surprised they've not done some deals with. But it's kind of catch-22. On one hand, so if you want people to subscribe to your platform, you need to make stuff available. I wouldn't personally, if I was in charge, I wouldn't be leasing out my content to Tubi or anything like that. I'd be like, no, but then I'd also be looking at maybe we launch a free tier of Disney Plus with fast channels, and that's how I would do it. I'd just be like, why fight with Tubi? Why don't we just make Disney Plus, have a free tier so that anyone could watch, so you've got 15, 20, 35 channels of repeats. You don't put anything new on there. And obviously it's just on repeat. But, you could just have I think that would be how I would do it. Okay, so let's jump back into some of the pre-done questions. Tim says, do you know why we haven't got a name for the new Walt Disney animation movie being released next November? Because we don't really need it, do we? Again, this is where the whole process of this movie is a long way away. They've not announced it. That means if they need to delay it or make any changes, we don't know what it is. So therefore, it's not being branded a failure before it's even coming out. And as I said, we don't need to know. They might they might do an announcement. I mean, if it's not out till November next year, I wouldn't make a big deal of it till next year. Again, I think we've got in this thing of we're always wanting everything now. We want to know about things now, but there's no benefit really. There's no fun, it just allows everyone to get negatives at the minute. By not saying anything, there is no negativity about this project because no one knows what it is. Babatronic says, should Disney remove the label on the Hulu ESPN content saying included in your ESPN Plus subscription, or have the option to switch off? It's off-putting for me. I think legally they probably have to because of the way they're running it at the minute. I'd imagine they have to do it like that. And if they didn't do that, you'd also have, and I think, again, how many options do they need? How many people are really bothered by it? And how long is this bundle actually going to exist? Mara says, how do you think the recent Disney Plus partnership with ITVX in the UK and Ireland, featuring the taste of ITVX and taste of Disney Plus selections, will turn out to be a win-win situation for both? 100%. It's a win-win for Disney. They get their content out to a bigger audience. They get to have a big advert on ITVX. People get to view the shows. They get a load of British content. It's win-win. At the end of the day, those shows that have gone on there, they probably were going to license them anyway. So it just kind of is a little bit of a deal, really. Kelly said in a recent report, Curious Entertainment in Canada is shutting down a number of its kids' channels, which includes Disney Junior and XD. What are your takeaways? Usually I go for fish and chips, KFC, or a nice Indian. But nevertheless, in terms of this, I would say Disney kids channels are the ones feeling the pinch from linear disappearing much more than any. Kids just don't watch linear television in the way that we all used to, and therefore the viewership is declining, and has been declining so fast that they're looking to cut networks and cutting. And if you're looking at your channels and they are one of the most least watched channels, why are you spending money on them? Get rid of them. Keenan says, do you think Disney Plus or Hulu on Disney Plus should have anime films if they have TV series? Yeah. I mean, again, why not? Get some licensed movies. That'll be good. Babak says, it looks like Lionsgate might be for sale. Who do you think might buy it? I assume Disney isn't in a position to. Yeah, Disney's not in a position to be doing anything like that. And I don't think they would get it through regulatory. I think they've got to sort out some of their other stuff that they need. And do they really need another studio? They're kind of laying off people and closing stuff down. I'm not sure it's a good asset for them to acquire to do something with. Again, there's nothing really there that I think that they desperately need. In terms of who else could buy it, it could get picked up by, I don't know, it's maybe little Sony could pick it up to kind of build out their area a bit. But we're just going to see some consolidation, I think. And it says, what would you want Disney Plus to add in a way to customize what it shows and recommends? I would like it to understand that if I have seen a bit like, basically work a little bit like YouTube. If you have shown me the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse thumbnail 10 times and I have never clicked on it, take the hint and don't show it to me. Don't necessarily hide it, but on the homepage, you don't necessarily. And if I watch something like it, then obviously they can prompt you again. But if there's, kind of that idea of if you haven't clicked on it or you've not, and you've been shown it lots of times, don't keep showing it to you. Show you something else instead. Try and use that in way of enticing you would be a better way of doing it. Also, if you have watched a show or a movie and you never go back and watch a movie again, show me something else. If I have watched all of the Grey's Anatomy's episodes, why, when the new series comes up, makes perfect sense to put that front and center at the beginning of Disney Plus, because I'm going to see a new episode and I'm going to watch it. But in the months that it's not on, why show it to me? Because I'm not clicking on it. Should be trying to entice me with stuff that I would be interested in watching. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with having like a watch again. Why don't you watch this again kind of row? I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, I think for me, it's just more personalization where it reads a bit like YouTube and Netflix, where it's like YouTube. If you go past a video a few times, which is why you should always click on my videos every time they launch, because if you don't do it for a while, they don't show it to you. So that's definitely something to be aware of. Baba Trolling says, do you think Disney would make a trade with Hearst for the 50% stake of A&E to get full ownership of ESPN? I mean, I would imagine that would be nice for them. It's whether or not Hearst want to give up their 20%. That's the problem. Depends if Hearst want to give up their 20%. Leah says, will Disney acquire or license or create more anime? 100%. 100% on both. That report earlier that how anime is growing, it's not niche anymore. It's mainstream. They know it. They are going to embrace it even more. Let's see what else we've got in here. The Rock already has a midlife even. Yeah, hopefully Seth's going to be all right, because he looked like he tweaked his knee last night. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, thank you very much, Miles, for your super chat. Thank you so much for your continued support. You are awesome. What's your take on Legendary Entertainment thinking about acquiring Lionsgate Studios, according to recent reports? I see that is, to me, that makes a lot more sense, because that would allow Legendary to up its production to become bigger. And And that's really in my mind of like what would benefit. You've either got to have someone like smaller or around the same size, merging it together to become a bigger entity and become more powerful, or you've got a big boy that wants to, suck up something. I think Legendary taking on Lionsgate would be better probably for the Lionsgate staff, because they'd be looking to scale up what they do. But yeah, so I think that would definitely be a good thing. Miles also asked, regarding Hoppers, the best way to debut the trailer would be to debut the teaser with Zootopia 2 and the main trailer of Avatar and the final. Yeah, bingo. I 100% agree with that. Especially for a movie that's coming out in March. That would be like, November. And also you're getting in front of big audiences. So that would be a way for it to go. Frozen was announced for 2027. Yeah, but Frozen's different. Again, there's a difference between an unannounced movie or an untitled movie or a brand new movie than a sequel. When Disney turn around to you and say Frozen 3 is coming out, everyone knows what it is, and everyone can just be like, oh, okay. And it bumped the stock price. If they come out and they say, I don't know, a brand new movie called Carrot is coming out, it doesn't mean anything. So it doesn't benefit like the stock. It doesn't boost anything. Jumping back into some of the pre-done questions. Matt says, when do you think they'll sell Freeform? I mean, personally, I would be like, why haven't they sold it already? Why aren't they just getting rid of it? There might be a legal reason where they've got to keep it. Maybe they're just going to be like, you know what? We're just going to just ride this channel out till it doesn't bring us any money anymore. And then we'll just close it that way. And kind of just, it does feel a little bit like Disney is just going to let some of these channels just ride until they collect as much cash as they can. Connor says, and also with Freeform, they're not spending money on new content. It's all just Hulu content that's being like repurposed. Connor says, do you think the agreement between Disney Plus and ITV was mostly a way for the former to boost its British content quota? 100%. 100%. It's a perfect way of doing it. And it also makes Disney look better when they kind of go to the government and they kind of go, look, we're supporting your local, it's good PR for them as well. Keenan says, I noticed that Zombies had a Disney stream with a small catalog. Was it to hype up Zombies for? Oh, 100%. That's what that's for. Just again, it's just ways of marketing and getting eyeballs on it. Kelly says, Disney and Hearst are exploring a possible sale of A+E Networks. Could this possibly lead to these channels eventually shutting down? I don't know about shutting down. They might get sold off to somebody else that will want to keep those channels because they're just going to want to just bleed them dry till the cash cow runs out. Because that's what a lot of these linear companies seem to be doing, is just kind of companies, a bit like with newspapers, they just kind of come in and run them into the ground, and then they like just get as much money out of them before they die, kind of thing. That's what I would expect to happen. Miles says, what were your thoughts on Superman you went and saw it this weekend? And do you think that the DC universe will be able to compete with the Marvel Cinematic Universe? So yesterday morning I went to see Superman and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best superhero movies I've seen for a while. I mean, I was thinking yesterday, like, did I enjoy it more than Deadpool and Wolverine? And I'm like, I really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, but Superman, it was a bit different. I liked it. It felt fresh. It felt a little bit different. I liked what they were doing with it. I liked the tone. I liked the humor. I loved Crypto. I just thought it was really good. Now, the good thing is for me is a strong DC is great for us as viewers. That means we're going to get better quality movies, better quality shows. And if it brings the heat to Disney for Marvel, that they have to up their game because Superman's so good that they're going to have to be better, perfect. Can DC compete with Marvel? 100%, because Marvel right now is on the ropes. They are bleeding. In the wrestling terms, they are a bit, they are, we're not talking Roman Reigns here. Now they are, they're a bit bruised. They're a bit battered. They are not doing so hot themselves. And so I will say this as well. I think we're going to have Fantastic Four and Superman are not going to hit $1 billion. I think this is going to be a bit of a warning shot to both companies that we need less. We need a lot less. I think even Marvel's plan of 3 movies a year, I think they've got to scale this right back. I think they've got to go back to the drawing board. 2 movies a year max. But I think they've really got to just let Marvel and superheroes have, I wouldn't say a break, but they've got to drastically get people excited and can't keep churning out stuff like Ironheart. And yeah, next they've really got to just cut back. Audiences are bored of superheroes, and that's they've had enough, and you can see it because not enough people are going to. And Superman is a great movie. I have got no complaints about it. I thought it was great, and I think Fantastic Four is going to be great, but they ain't going to be. And I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. I mean, I watched it again last week. It's really good, but the audience is just they're bored of Marvel and Star Wars, and I think even DC. Personally, I think with Superman, I think DC should have taken a few more years off. I think they would have benefited from waiting a little longer. That's my own personal take on that. Anyway, if you've seen Superman, let me know what you thought of it. Elliot says, why does it say that Bunked is included with Hulu when the show was on the Disney Channel? I think Bunked is because it's so much an older show, because it's obviously like seven years since it came out. I think it's probably locked into another contract, and that's why it's not on the Disney. There's got to be some legal loophole for why it's being treated so differently, and I imagine it's because of a long-standing deal that was made before Disney Plus existed. Aaliyah says, when ITV productions are available on Disney Plus, what are your top recommendations for us to watch? If needed, I'm in the US. So I think it's very important to note, this ITV deal is UK and Ireland only. It is not in the United States. I've seen a lot of people got a little bit like misunderstood what it was, but it's just for the UK. In the same way as if I said there was a deal with Stan in Canada, in Australia, or was it Rogers in Canada? It's very much, I mean, in terms of stuff to watch. So I'll just give you some good stuff here recently. And let me just bring up so you guys can see it internationally. Share. Let's bring, yes, I want to allow it. So let's bring this up. So I'll just close this one down. So Code of Silence, really, really good show. Definitely worth watching this one here. So as you can see, there's already a few Disney Plus originals here. Renegade Nell, you've got Shard Lake, Joanne, that's a really good show as well. That's good. After the Flood, that was okay. Let me see what else was here. Fresh in. I'm just seeing which shows. The Tower, that's really good. That's good. Culprits, obviously that's a UK one, but that's definitely worth checking out. The crime thrillers are definitely the big ones. Let's see what else we've got in here. As you can see, it's a very hodgepodge of stuff. Family Guy. Because there's so much stuff. Protection, that was a good show. I enjoyed that one. Out Here, wasn't so keen on that one. The best of the year so far. I'm just seeing what else there was. What other ones have I watched this year so far? The Bay, I enjoyed The Bay. North Shore, I enjoyed that one. That was a good show. I think it's gone on Netflix at the minute. Those are definitely ones I've liked so far. Categories. I'm just trying to think which ones. Top picks. What other ones would I recommend to you to watch? I'm just kind of some of that's not seen everything. Notice here how many like little Disney Plus shows are actually popping up. Oh, Douglas and Cancelled. That was okay. Was all right. Vera, my wife, loves that show. She thinks that's great. Red Eye, that was good. That was a good show. Breathtaking, that was hard to watch, but that was good. Des, that was another good show. Bum, 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 bum. See whichever ones. Yeah, that one there. That was with David Tennant. That was really good. As I said, there's a lot of great stuff on here. But again, for me, the thing is I can watch it. But the only good thing is, I suppose if I watch it on Disney Plus, is I'm not going to end up having to sit through ads. So there are benefits to that. It means I don't have to sit through the ads and stuff. But there we go. Okay, right. So let's jump back to me. Right, so we got a couple more questions, and then we'll do the live ones. Matt says, what countries could they launch in Disney Plus next year? I mean, I think there's still some countries in Southeast Asia, some in Africa. I don't think it seems like to be very high on their list at the minute. They've just been focusing on countries which are kind of basically more wealthy to make more money. I think they'll probably go down that line when they maybe when they've sorted everything out and they're kind of back on track and they're making more profit. That's when they can kind of go like, oh, now we need to up our output to get to bigger audiences. I think they've got to be in a different stage. So it's probably maybe a couple of years away. Last of the pre-done questions, and we'll be live for the rest of the show. Bubba Trolling says, do you think that Warner Brothers will go back to having just HBO shows on their streaming service and just sell shows like Friends to Netflix or Prime Videos? They'll probably do both. Warner Brothers is quite happy to license. But also I think HBO, I think they realized that Discovery content wasn't performing so well on there. I think Friends and stuff were a little bit different, but I think that's it. I also think Warner Brothers are looking to do bundles. So you get like Discovery Plus and HBO, etc. Thank you, Derek, for your super chat. Thank you so much for your continued support. You are awesome. It says, if CN shut down, which it will, what do you think will happen to Adult Swim? We know it's not going anywhere soon. I think the thing is, again, is Adult Swim, is that content going to be able just to go onto streaming? Could they have a live, a curated playlist on, HBO Max or something? Again, the thing is with this content is if people are watching it on streaming, it will still have a life. If people are just watching it because they're getting home drunk and watching it at night, there's that kind of thing. Will they just find it on TV anyway? But I think eventually they are going to get to point. Again, the Adult Swim stuff is kind of the only thing I think keeping some of the kid channel kind of running, because that's aimed at adults. Ironically, it's not the kid shows on the kids networks that are actually bringing audiences in. But again, thank you so much for that. Don't worry, Susuna. There's no quiz for being late. It's fine. If you've got any questions, feel free to chuck them in before we head off. Let's see what we've got here. Mara says, have you missed my question regarding the comparison of Miramax's ownership and Searchlight Pictures? I don't remember seeing it. If you just pop that in, I'll have a go at it. But as far as Miramax and Searchlight Pictures, I wouldn't necessarily consider them the same. I think there's a different market. Obviously, the idea of having a small indie movie studio producing content is very much similar. But obviously, Miramax worked outside of the Disney bubble. It didn't really necessarily work within it. I think Searchlight Pictures is kind of, it seems to be very different in the fact that Disney's actually very much along the lines of going, oh no, this is ours. This is our award-winning. They're using it as a way of boosting it up when it comes to the Oscars and the Emmys and stuff. And they go, oh, we got nominated for all these movies through Searchlight. And Searchlight, they realize as well, is good, not necessarily just from the point of view of marketing buzz. It's also good that the movie's generally cheap, so they don't need to take as much money. They can show that then when people turn around and say to Disney going, you make all these remakes and stuff, and they go, well, actually, we've put out The Amateur, we've put out, all these other Searchlight Pictures, which then they can turn around and go, well, we are putting out 40-50% of our movie content is original and new. So it kind of helps with them fudging the numbers. They also do very well on streaming because, again, the numbers don't need to be as high. And I think that's the key thing for this one. So I don't necessarily think of it. I think there's a lot more benefits for them now than when they had Miramax those many years ago. Kelly says, just got an idea. Like to see Disney Plus doing a sharing deal with the Weather Channel, where it licenses shows to Hulu, like Weather Gone Wild, or that the Weather Channel gets some Nat Geo show. I mean, do they? I mean, I wouldn't it not just make more sense just to have just like a news channel running with weather? I mean, do they need to get into do a deal with the Weather Channel? Could they not just have like a rolling stream of the weather? I mean, obviously you get like documentaries about fun, hurricanes and stuff, but I'm sure Nat Geo or ABC could do that anyway. But I don't know. I definitely think it could be done. Don't worry, Lee. Yep, I've answered all your questions, so they've all been done. Matt says, when do you think Comcast will remove their shows from Hulu? I'm guessing it might depend on what the contract is for those, because those shows will probably have a contract in place unless there is a new contract that states that when they get paid, they have to get pulled off this platform. I didn't notice anything on the July list that it was coming, but I mean, I would definitely view them as endangered. They're not going to be on there for indefinitely, but it might just be the contract needs to expire and then they'll come off. And we don't know how long that deal is, but yeah, I mean, I would definitely say they're not going to be long for it. Kelly says, I think it depends what the streaming numbers are. Both Law and Order shows trend daily on Disney Plus, and Will and Grace is listed on Disney Plus Throwback Collection. Yeah, did I miss? What question's that? Where did I miss that one? I don't know where that one was in reference to. Miles says, could Disney Plus link a partnership with RTI Player, similar to the recent ITVX deal, since Disney has licensed several shows RT in Ireland? Maybe. Have you got ITVX in Ireland now? I thought you had. So I would imagine if you've got it, if they've got that deal, probably less likely. But they'll make deals with small independent ones for sure. Bobatronic says, do you think Disney will tell us more about ESPN at the next earnings call? Yes, because they'll need something to boost the numbers up, and that will probably be the date. Also, if I was a betting person about the idea of there being a new Disney Plus merging with Hulu, my gut is saying this next quarterly is the one, because Comcast is gone, and I think that they'll do it to collide with the ESPN launch so that they can then have Disney Plus and ESPN as the bundle. That's the new bundle. And then they'll give like a year to get rid of the Hulu side of things. Keenan says they just announced the CMA Awards will be held on Wednesday, November the 19th. Any thoughts? Cool. Sounds good. I will have to see into that a little bit more. Seeing who will win, etc. I mean, it's just a shame really that those shows aren't global, because it'd be nice to have them available for us all to be able to watch. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense for ABC and stuff to have them. Personally, I think with these kind of award shows, they need to be streamed and on linear. Matt says, do you think Disney could do more adult animation shows? I don't know about more. I mean, they've got 20th television animation is churning out some shows. You know, they have got a big pile, Family Guy, American Dad, all these kind of, and they keep going. I do think they're probably less inclined to do new ones. I think we're seeing a little bit of, again, we're in a downturn. We're seeing less. All those shows are making less episodes. I don't think they're in the mood to do new stuff anymore. A lot of the stuff they've launched over the last few years isn't clicking. And I think they're just going to ride out the ones that are working. Well, it says, what are the key differences between the ownership of Miramax, particularly during the Weinstein era, and the ownership of Searchlight Picture regarding integration and how they run? I think I did cover that one for you, I think. But yeah, I do think it's I think Searchlight is much more beneficial to them now than Miramax was when they owned it, because like I said, there's benefits on multiple levels, and Disney are in a different place now. They aren't hiding what they aren't to people anymore. Now they are a major corporation. Matt says, do you think they'll release more Touchstone pictures? No, I think that brand is dead. They've already retired it. They've got 20th Century Studios. They don't need Touchstone. They've got 20th Century is that franchise. Elias says, my vote is Sony because you don't have a streamer. The movies chart on Netflix, so why not Disney Plus and the Spider-Man collection? 100% with the Spider-Man thing. What is I just realized, yeah. I think I accidentally closed down the poll that I had it going. There we go. Okay, also, I believe Searchlight is where Disney can be more risky with storylines compared to their mainstream brands since the budget for Searchlight pictures is so small. The Weather Channel isn't a 24 news channels anymore since they aired documentaries during their downtime. Oh, right, okay. Bit weird. I kind of... Aaliyah says, Jaws at 50 on Nat Geo. Thus, Disney Plus is a pleasant surprise and quite a coup for Disney. Spielberg chose them instead of Peacock. Yeah, I mean, that did seem a little bit strange, didn't it, of why they didn't get into it. Yeah, and I totally get what you meant. But yeah, it was weird that it didn't go to Peacock, but maybe Steven Spielberg felt Nat Geo was better at making a documentary about it. Maybe their pitch was better. That's probably what it came down to, or they pay him more. I agree with this, especially with the successes of Poor Things, A Real Pain, and A Complete Unknown. Yeah, because that just leads into, like I said, they have big Oscar wins, and then they can get a little streaming boost, and they are delivering for Disney a different type of movie that it gives them so many different ways of just being able to say, look, we're not just delivering franchises, we are giving you quality movies. Now, Poor Things, I couldn't even make it halfway through. I thought that was awful. A Real Pain was a real bore. I didn't think it was very interesting at all. I don't get what all the fuss was about. And A Complete Unknown, it was all right. But I wasn't, yeah, I don't know, didn't really appeal to me too much on that one. Caleb says, speaking of Universal, they sent one of the delayed films Long Distance to Hulu since they didn't have any faith in it. I mean, I do find it weird that like these studios will basically buy other studios with crap. It's just like, I don't know. I don't get it. It's like, if it's a bit like, I don't know, if I made a dinner and I turned around to you and was like, well, here's a dinner for sale. I've only made one. And like, aren't you hungry? No, you eat it. It's like, why don't you want it? Elias says, college football is set to start on August 23, so flagship will probably start a week or two prior. Yeah, or maybe even the same week. I mean, I would personally launch it the week before to do some testing. Mara says, have the copyrights for Touchstone Pictures merged under the Disney Enterprise copyright is noticed? I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't looked at that. I haven't looked. I'm sure they'll keep they'll have the copyright. They're not going to give that up. Matt says, again, super thank you for your super chats. If they added one Century Hub, what do you think hub would look like? If they added one Century Hub, what do you think it would look like? So I'm guessing you mean the 20th Century Hub. I mean, I do not understand why we don't have a 20th Century Hub. I just don't understand how they paid $70 billion for this massive studio, had all these assets, and you don't want to. It's like, I don't know, it's really weird. I mean, maybe when they've sorted out with Hulu, that's the plan. They can expand it out a little bit, but I don't know. 20th Century would just make so much sense to use that as a way of popping all their. And people know what 20th Century is. Just doesn't make any sense in terms of what it looks like now. It might, I suppose, if they put it in there, it would drastically shrink the Hulu section, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because that's overflowing. But yeah, I mean, I personally would have a 20th Century Hub. Matt says what Disney needs to do is make quality TV shows and movies. Yeah, and that's what they're going back to. They've gone back to quality over quantity, which was the big problem, that they were just churning out too much. Unfortunately, there was a lot of projects that were made during the quantity era that have just been released, and we're probably going to see the big change. We're already starting to see it, but of how little stuff's coming out. But next year, I think we're really going to see that big difference when, I mean, if you look at like Marvel, for instance, I mean, I think like Marvel Zombies and Ironheart and some of these other ones. You know, a lot of them were just like an Eyes of Wakanda. These were projects designed and created during the Chapek era, and they've just got to come out in the next year. We'll see a lot less. Is Disney doing a Christmas movie this year? Yeah, they've got one. They filmed it in Toronto with the Jonas Brothers. Elias says Jaws 50 is extraordinary, not because of the cinematic history, but also includes shark conservations because it's important to Benchley and the US. Yeah, I need to watch it because it only got added over the weekend. I'm a huge fan of sharks. I absolutely love them. I do watch the shark documentaries. I did watch the Bertie Gregory one the other day. That was good. Yeah, I've loved sharks. I've scuba dived with them a couple of times. I absolutely love them, and I do enjoy. Jaws is still one of my favorite films. I always used to love the attraction at Universal Studios. Yeah, so it's definitely on my to-do list. Perhaps that mixture was what captured Spielberg's. I'm guessing, yeah, cash and the pitch. Miles says, at the end of the day, was Disney right to sell Miramax films, given how we know about their disgraced co-owner, Harvey Weinstein? Yeah, well, I mean, we've got to look at it very much like we've got to separate the two. Because I think there's a lot of stuff in reality of like, you know, we don't necessarily know. And at the end of the day, if they couldn't work with him very well, that might be why they got rid of it. But yeah, it's a bit of a stain on the. But at the end of the day, you know, they've moved on, and you know, it's just a mess. Keith says, "Oh yeah, yes, I think it might be just how he's copy and pasting it." Matt says, "How long do you think cable will last?" I mean, I think it will probably be around for 10, 20 years. I don't think it's going to disappear completely, but I think what you're going to start seeing is you've got customers that are on there now that might never want to leave. The problem comes when the cable companies start going, this is not cost effective, so we're going to sell, or we're not going to update the cables. There's going to get to a point where the equipment isn't worth maintaining because there's not enough customers. It's the same thing like with satellite dishes and stuff here. Maya says, we'll be checking out the trailer for the new Dr. Zeus movie. To be honest, I hadn't checked. I have completely forgot about it. I mean, I might check it out, but Dr. Zeus was never really a big thing when I was a kid. So I don't really have, I mean, I've seen the movie. The Grinch was really my first real like big introduction to it. When it came out, I remember looking at some of the books because we were out in Universal on holiday at the time when the movie came out, and the part was, and my parents were like, "What is all this stuff? What's Cat in the Hat?" What, they didn't have a clue what any of it was because they never read it. So I'm being that bit older. I don't really have nostalgia for that franchise. Matt says, "What studio do you think could buy A&E?" I think the trouble. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a studio. I think you're going to have some kind of consortium probably snap it up and then just strip it for parts and just basically just bleed it dry for as much cash as they can before they dump it. Mark says the Weinstein exited Miramax and by extension Disney after the Fury disagreements over Fahrenheit 9/11. Oh, I remember that movie come out. Cable will definitely shrink since fast channels are becoming the spiritual successors to it. I know OTT examiners exist, but that's different. Yeah. Right. On that note, guys, if you've got last call for any questions before we wrap up for the day. So again, next week we'll be back same time, same place, same place. Huge thank you to both Matt and Miles and for your super chats and being super members. Also, a huge thank you for Derek for being a super chat person today. Like I said, all of this really does mean a huge amount, and it really does help support the channel. And just lately, yeah, it's just the support has been fantastic. So I can't thank you all enough. Kelly says, "Are you looking forward to Evolution tonight?" I'll probably check the highlights tomorrow. A bit like with, I did watch the highlight videos of AEW. I don't normally watch them, but I think they started putting them on the YouTube. That video was awful. It's like, we still want you to buy the pay-per-view, so we're going to give you absolutely nothing. It was 18 minutes of just bits. It was horribly edited, so that was awful. The WWE ones are a lot less. I might watch some of the bits from the main event later tonight. Again, it's difficult with it. Last night was great though, because I was able to watch Great American Bash live because of it was on like in the evening my time. But I will check out some of the matches tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not overly excited about Evolution. I think again, there's just been they do too much sometimes. Again, Elias, I love sharks. I recall part of the reason shark activism became important because he felt guilty about the book. Yeah, actually, I was talking about this with my wife the other day when we were watching the Brett Gregory one of, like the damage that Jaws did, absolutely decimated shark populations around the world because everyone suddenly knew what they were and was scared of them and were killing them left, right, and center because of what Jaws did. Jaws had a massive, massive impact on shark populations, and because of not necessarily misinformation, but because the movie just did a very good job of scaring everyone that when there was a death, the first reaction was just to kill it, and that was obviously that time and era. But yeah, it's such a sad time. Okay, so on that note, guys, thank you very much for everyone for joining in this week. Again, we'll be back next week. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Laters. Tally ho.